Chrys Callaway, a level-headed adventurer who is bold with my actions and emotions. I love to call myself a storyteller because I really believe that I am both a writer, but I share my stories in a way that people can be inspired by.
All right, that's interesting. Do you want to tell me how you started to tell your story, how your storytelling adventure started?
Okay, so my adventure started with my business. It started all it started with my actual story. Would you like to hear that story?
Absolutely. That is what I'm interested in the more.
Yes, so my story started with the fact that so I had learned the tactic of manipulation. And now manipulation is not a bad thing, but I had learned it to be, well, a very bad thing. And so I used it to get things that I wanted or what I felt like I wanted. And while I did that, it basically drained all the people around me. And yet I didn't care because it was a way of getting what I needed. And one day, while doing all the things that I ever wanted, getting all the things that I ever wanted, my mom decided she was going to be on the start of a self care journey. And I did not like this idea. And so I sabotaged it the best I could. And yet that didn't work. And so when it didn't work, my attempts failed. And with the help of my mom's friend, she was able to see past the sweet girl act and look straight at the tactics of my manipulation. Her friend had asked to talk to me, and I don't remember much of the conversation, but I do remember one part. She said, "I'm tired of people messing with my people." That hit me hard because I guess I didn't realize until then that I was messing with people. My mom said that she would send me to my father's house where I could be disciplined while she took care of her self care journey. I cried, thinking that if I did, she would reconsider. But when she didn't, my fake tears turned into real ones at the realization that I wasn't getting out of it. She took me to my father's house, and I stayed quiet, not wanting to anger her even more. When we arrived, it was dark and raining hard. You know, like in those movies where it's always raining when there's a really sad scene. I remember my father's laugh as he told me that I must have made her really upset if she drove through the rain to bring me here. And that was when I felt the guilt as I watched my mom drive away. My father would say this over and over, reconfirming that the thoughts in my head that she hates me now. 2 days being into my father's house, that the malicious spirit that I thought was there that had the tactics of manipulation inside me just kind of completely left. And it left me scared and defenseless since my manipulation was the only thing I could use to defend myself. I don't remember when, but my father had decided to test the waters one night when I was sleeping with him, and one of his repeated flings. That night was the first time he sexually assaulted me, and that was the only beginning of many. I told my mother what happened, but she didn't believe me, thinking that I was simply just trying to leave my father's house. After I told her and she didn't believe me, I gave up hope even when the sexual assault from my father got worse. I started making plans to try and escape, but every time I thought of a new one, I was afraid to write it down, saying it out loud, or even to enact it. For if it did not go to plan or I missed a step, I would have been in trouble. Reality would always factor in because I thought at least I have food, if you can call it that. At least I'm in a house with the possibility of a shooting. At least I have clothes. Yeah, too many clothes. One day, after finally trusting someone to tell me what my father had been doing to me, I had chosen to tell my aunt. She was the person in charge of family gatherings, and so I had gotten to know her. I trusted her and thought she was going to save me, but I was careful because if things didn't go to plan, bad things would happen. So, being careful, I started off easy. I said, I hate my father, which was true at the time because it's normal to hate your abuser. Now, I don't remember s- specifically what she said, but I know she said something like, you should never hate your father no matter what he does. And then went down a tangent like rabbit hole, but I wasn't listening because she told me that she wasn't the one I could trust. But she was the only one who looked somewhat stable throughout the whole family I met there. I mean, she didn't even ask me why I said that I hated him. Whatever. It was fine because I was never going to tell anyone again. And I didn't. I simply chose times to do a weird action or say something weird that normal people would question, but no matter what, they didn't get the hint. Here's an example. I remember I kept asking to play a certain song that most kids wouldn't even know about or even want to listen to on a loop. Then my birthday night came, and my mom came along with her sister and my cousin. They celebrated my birthday with me. My mom stayed in a hotel, and I was with her. She asked before my birthday if I wanted to go home with her, and I wanted to say yes, but was very compelled to say no because my naive self thought that maybe my father would stop. So I said no. And when it was time for her to go, I kept running back and forth between her car and the hotel in tears, regretting the decision to say, but not saying it. My heart broke as we hugged each other. I let her go and watched her drive away. One day, my father left the house. The door was unlocked, and when I thought I heard him come back, I went downstairs and opened the door. He wasn't there. So I was going back up to our neighbors, but our neighbors they were out, so they pulled me into a conversation. Then another neighbor came and they gave me an early birthday present. I thanked her and then went back into our apartment. When he finally did return, I showed him the present our neighbor gave me. He scolded me for going outside, which I believe was stupid because I felt safer outside with our neighbors than inside with him for a good reason. He grounded me, took the shoes, and said I wasn't able to talk to anyone, but I didn't care, and said I was happy. I loved my room. It was the only place he barely invaded, and therefore it was safe. While I was contently being grounded, my mother was freaking out. After all, my father wouldn't let her talk to me because I was grounded. My father had been acting very suspicious as he told me to pack and that I was going to stay over at a friend's house. Just to let you know, I had been asking to go to that friend's house for 2 weeks, so I thought it was very suspicious. When we got there, I was there for like 20 minutes. Then my mom came in looking very irritated with my father, and I just kind of connected the dots. On the car ride home, she told me that I was never going back. And why? I was cheering inside my head, but also sad because I left a lot of my favorite things at my father's house. As we got home, I asked if I could talk to my father. My mom was afraid, so I went into the other room and told him that I was never coming back. It was supposed to be a way to rub it in his face, but he immediately assumed it was all my mom and asked to talk to her, which only made problems for both me and my mother. We ended up moving to places to, but while we were on the road, the beans got spilled, and I told my mom all about being sexually abused by my father. After that, I went into depression, stayed in a dark room all alone. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, PTSD, and suicidal ideation. Fun, right? No! I remember being in a dark, creepy, depressive room in a corner, and this glowing man was standing in front of me. My first three thoughts when I saw him was, he's too bright. I'm going crazy. Am I about to die? No, I'm definitely about to die. After being good in therapy, I accepted the glowing man. He told me his name was Chris. So I welcomed him and took his name. He helped me out of depression, and with my mom's encouragement, I have started a business to help people share their stories.
Now, before you were talking of your father having assaulted you. How old were you there? How did it got started? What do you have to say more about that?
The first time he ever started it, let me answer the first question. The first question, I think I was 9. I was there for a few months. It was not a full year, I don't believe. No, because what would happen was my mom would send me over there for a month, then take me back for a month, and it was like a repeated thing like that. And during the month I was there, that was when he sexually assaulted me because he did not come over when I was with my mother's, probably for the reason of he didn't have a working car to go over to my mother's, and also he just didn't want to go through the trouble. But the first time I told you about the first time, it was I was in my father's bed and I was just like trying to go to sleep, and he just started and I was like, "What are you doing?" But I just stayed asleep. Like, no, I'm going back to bed. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was only 9. Yeah. Yeah, I was only 9.
And did your mother ever got to know about this, and what did she do about it? What was her reaction? How did they confront your father?
Oh, yes, I told my mom. I told her in the car ride because I went into depression after that. Depression, um, PTSD, and suicidal ideation. She, but this was after I was already out of the situation because I would not have told her if I was still in the situation. So she had already got me out of the situation for the reason of he would not let me her speak to me. And so she was like, "Oh no, that's not what's gonna happen right now." And so she took me away from that environment. And then a few months later, that's when I told her. She made sure to that I was well cared for while I was after I told her. But I think I had immediately after I told her went into depression and PTSD and suicidal ideation. So I was like not really listening to her. And then Chrys came, and he was kind of like my knight in shining armor, you know, like in those fairy tales, the princess is in this dark tower. That was a Kyrie. That was my name before this all happened. It was a Kyrie, the beautiful name my mother gave me. But I had changed it to Chrys in the knight in shining's armor. That was his name. I changed it so that he would I, I would I would feel protected because I knew he was always there, but I also knew that I wanted to take his name in his honor.
All right. So where is Chris now?
Chrys is still with me. See, I call myself many things, but I also call myself a fusion. The fusion. Because I have watched a show. It's called Steven Universe. I don't know if you've heard it. But in there are fusions. And it's such an extraordinary thing because to the people in that show, fusion is like really special and intimate. And that's how I feel like it is with me and Chrys. See, Akari and Chrys fused, and then them whole was Chrys. And then there was other parts of me that came along, and they all fused together as well.
You are sort of manifesting all of that. No, you are going around with it because you have sort of taken on the identity of Chris, right?
I am.
All
I
right. How do
welcome
you
him.
feel? How do you feel about that?
I absolutely love the idea. Of course, with it's like a relationship between me and my parts and Chrys. And so there's always those specific times where it's like a specific part will come out and there'll be issues that we'll have to address and take care of, and we'll have to make sure everyone's okay, including yourself. And I make sure that all of my parts are cared for.
All right. Now, before you were talking of manipulation. Um, I want you to explain to me more what you mean by that. How do you mean by manipulation? How did you work with it?
Yes, so I'm just gonna by that. Like I was raised in a way where it was all about me. And that went along with the manipulation tactics I learned, because what I would do was, if I didn't get my way, I would go like hide in a corner, make sure everyone noticed I was in a corner, have them all come to me and act like it's their fault, make them feel bad. And if I did, everything was fine because I was pleased.
Okay. Now, how did you learn that? How did you learn to do that?
Well, I told you that I learned to do that because of how I was raised. My mother had raised me to since she kind of grew up where it was all about her mother. She made sure that it was all about me when she raised me, and so that's how I learned to do that, because it was like it was just in my mind supposed to happen. It was just all about me.
Okay. Now, is that an ability, a skill, a kind of attribute that you have matured over in the years, or have you grown over that? Are you still able to do that now as you talk?
I have learned to use manipulation because manipulation itself is not bad. It's how you use it. And I feel like the properties of manipulation is extraordinary because it can work with all types of things. Specifically, there's a woman named Abraham Hicks, and she talks about vibration and source energy. And when she speaks of it, she'll say that you need to call the things into your life. And that I feel like that is what Akari was doing, but she was doing that to people, for people to get it for her, not for it to just come to her, so she wouldn't have to just ruin people's days or waste their time with having to do things for her when it could come to her because it was in her vibration.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Now, is there a way that this your ability to manipulate manipulation scheme managed to make its way into your storytelling? Could you say anything about that?
Well, when I do storytelling, I, I don't see there's any need for manipulation, because manipulation is when you use that when you think you need something. When I storytell, I channel the fact that I have everything I ever need. At this very moment, I am content with being who I am in this realm of the world right now. I make sure that I am positively content, because when I tell my story, I want others to feel that emotion. I want others to know that when they hear my story, when they feel the confidence radiating off of me, they feel that for themselves. And they get inspired to share their stories. They get inspired to do things they have thought of but haven't done yet.
Usually, how do people react to your story? And when you go around and you share your experiences with them, what do they usually tell you? So that I mean, what is the feedback?
Yes, I get a lot of feedback, but the most often feedback I get is I get the same reaction I'm looking for. I get the reaction of, oh, wow, that's so amazing. Something like that happened to me too. Or here's a story that I wanted to share, but I haven't done it yet. Do you think I should? And I would say, yes, yes, you should. You always should. Because if you think that is something important that's happened to you, you should always share it. Even if you don't think it's important, but you look back at it and you're like, oh, that's so embarrassing. Even the embarrassing stories are the ones that need to be shared, because the embarrassing stories, embarrassing, that is a feeling. Embarrassment, that's a feeling that a lot of people feel. And when people feel that emotion because of your story, that's good. Because they are connecting with you. They are understanding how you felt during that present moment, or how you feel when you're sharing that story. It's how you connect with people. And connecting with people is just so important.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. connection is the most important part of the entire process of storytelling, or actually why you tell story. Because when you tell story, your intention is to trigger a reaction, is to affect a change.
Yes.
It's not just because you want to talk. All right.
Mhm.
Now you know how to tell story. You also learn about how to build a business around storytelling. What do you have to share with me around that?
I built a business off of storytelling. And at first, it was just going to be about me sharing my story to help women share their story about how they might have been molested or raped. But that's not it. I want people to share their story just to share their story, just to make sure that it feels good for them. Because everybody needs to share their story, not just about the women, not just about the trans people, not just about the men. Everybody, everybody needs to do it because it's not that hard. All you have to do, like, go to a LinkedIn audio room, share your story there, or just, I don't know, go out into the streets, share your story. Oh, hey, this happened to me. If you're comfortable with that, of course. This happened to me. I bet you there will be at least one person that will tell you you are doing something amazing. And that's because people are amazed with what you're doing because they wish that were them. And when they wish that were them, when they say that you're doing something amazing, I want you to say, so are you. Because that is motivation. They are motivating you, you are motivating them.
As a business, now you know how to tell your story, and you learn also how to build a business around it. But how do you promote it so that people will know that this that you are offering is available? Tell me about the promotion of your storytelling business.
So I find that since my business is about storytelling, I tell it by storytelling. What I do is I speak. I speak about all the things that I've went through. I speak about how I created my business. I speak about me, about the stories that I've had along the way. Cause I know I can tell simply a story about, how people say that cats can't climb down trees. My cat has climbed down a tree, orange tabby cat, on these big old trees. Just climb down it, jump on it, and then just prance right up to me as if he didn't just blow my mind. Yeah, I have told that story before, and that is something that can wow people. And then you just hit them with, oh, hey, I tell stories like this. I tell stories like my actual story. And that just wows them even more. It's for my business, since it's built around storytelling, I promote it by storytelling. It just makes sense to me, especially since I really like to talk.
Now, where do you see yourself in the future? I mean, with the kind of business that you are building around storytelling, what kind of future do you see for yourself?
Okay, so the future I see for myself, a life of pure bliss. I see myself minding my business, but still inspiring people to tell their stories. I can see that. And I can also see myself running my business contently while growing other people's businesses.
Thank you so much for that. How can people connect with you? Those who want to do business with you, and maybe they hear your story now, they want to connect with you. How can they reach you?
If you like what I talked about, you can find my website at bit.ly from A to C bit.ly/FORMA to C. You can really just go look at that because I worked hard on that, guys. Please. And then you can email me at chris.facts@gmail.com.
What would be your final thought here? Maybe a kind of a message you want to leave the people with, or something like that.
I have met a lot of people that are surviving and thriving, but I have also met a lot of people that are living. If you are out here and you are just living, it's time to at least step up to surviving. At least. And then you can make that step to go to thriving. Because once you thrive, everything you need is going to just come right to you. Everything.
Thank you so much for that. That is really very interesting and powerful. I appreciate you.